Hey guys, this is John Cook, Director of GVI, Group Violence Intervention, Support and Outreach. Tune in Thursdays at 7 p.m. Coming soon, we will have a Hope and Healing podcast with real stories, inspirations, and some raw information that is really going to be impactful in your lives. Follow us on Facebook at GVI Support and Outreach. Thank you, tune in. If you're looking for a transformative change, some thinking processes of healing, we'll see you soon. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this brand new podcast, Hope and Healing. I am the host, Director John Cook, and right now you're about to expect and you're about to receive a transformation of inspirational, live, raw, real life stories. And right now, I would love to introduce my brother, the beloved, the King Almighty. You inspire me, Brother Anthony Hart.
Hey man, I appreciate that, man. For real, it's all love, man. Thanks for having me, y'all. For real.
Yeah, no, that's a real
I
thing.
feel blessed.
Yeah,
For real.
true. And I want to say this though. As I talk to you, I really want you to know that you're a giant in my eyes. You know what I'm saying to you? From the moment that I met you, I remember sitting across from you in a business meeting. And you walked in, and I was like, "Wow,
Man, that was a strong day.
True,
That was a strong day.
True, powerful day."
Yeah.
I remember driving to our business meeting, and I was thinking, man, what do I say to somebody that I have admiration for, but at the same time want to build with you, right? And want to come off strong because I already had the perception of who you were,
Right.
you know. And then when you walk through the doors, it's just your energy, your vibe, your humble approach just meant so much. But also in that day, if I may, you not only had a giant-like figure and character about yourself, but you also showed pure humbleness.
Yeah. I broke down.
You did.
I broke down. I did. Man, that was, and I haven't that. I think that was everything combined, man. That day, realizing that I had the opportunity to change.
Right.
You know, then talking about my mother.
Yeah.
Losing her,
Right.
it just everything just started meshing together, and it was a moment where I just felt the energy of, I'm big on frequency and vibrations. Right. I felt that energy, that Christ-like energy that just takes over your body, and you can't help but to shed some tears and to be happiness. And I was overjoyed, man, for real. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. And you know what's powerful is that, and you can expound on where you're from, but from where we are from, because I know, but you'll talk more in depth. We were always taught to never show emotions. Yeah, so a person of your magnitude and the storms that you've been through, how did it feel to have a moment of release? And what does tears mean to you?
Wow. Well, first, I'm from New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? I'm from all parts of New Jersey, but I was raised in Lakewood, New Jersey. I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey. So if anybody's familiar with New Jersey and just the cities in New Jersey, it's serious. It's not a game, you know. And weakness ain't even a thought. You know what I mean? We play football on the street. You know what I'm saying? We're not playing in the grass. We leaving out with our faces, skin going off our elbows, type of thing, like real rough and tough. And that's how I was always moving for a long time. Just, no remorse for myself, no remorse for other people, no remorse for my own feelings, other people's feelings. And it put me in this way, man. And I never used to cry in front of nobody, but I'd be riding and I'd break down by myself. You know, people be driving by me and, I'm in there having a full episode, man, like snot and everything. I'm crying. And every time I think about it, it's just all the pain built up that I don't get to express. So when I was in the room with y'all and it happened, like I keep saying, I knew right there this was my time. This is time for me to do something different. It's time for me to change my path. This is an opportunity for me to grow. Right. Now I'm focused on, the word parabolic. You know what I mean? Right. I'm trying to go straight up, right, and do it the right way.
Right. That's a big deal. Parabolic and growth. So this episode is based on power and pain. And so you indicated about, where you were from, what state you were from.
Mm-hmm.
Could you describe what life was like? And we're going to do stages of development. So could you describe what life was like as much as you can remember
For sure.
And then as we progress in this podcast, we'll talk about to the ending date. But as much as you can remember, what was life like?
Man, life was a jumble. Like as a kid, kids being kids. But when you're in the city, it's a different type of fast than being. I don't want to take anything from anybody else's city, but I know I'm speaking for my city. It's different. Like you got big cats that is coaching the young cats, and you getting stripes from doing different crimes, and so it was a thrill. It was like real life Grand Theft Auto, and it was fun. Yeah, I didn't see no wrong with it, and I grew up. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, so that was always a chip on my shoulder, because I felt like I had to overcompensate and be the tough guy and show everybody that I could really put on for the streets and all that. So that's the angle I was always hitting it from. Like, oh, I'm the church boy turned bad type thing. I used to say stuff like that. Like I used to really say that. Like, and I laugh at it now because people would laugh at me and make fun of me, but it would make me even worse. And I just kept going until I was in love with it. And that day I cried with you. I was crying because I told you I was thrilled. I was excited by pain.
Right.
Violence was something that I loved, and that's what broke me down. Because it's the truth. It was a true fact. So in Trenton it was just different, man. I did have both spectrums, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I had both spectrums. My grandmother raised me real well.
Violence and spiritual.
Yeah, I had were there dysfunctions. My grandfather was getting high. I witnessed that. He was beating on it. But then we go to church, 3 times out the week, and everything was okay. So I'm seeing the dysfunction in that, and then my mother was a different animal. She and I'm gonna share something with y'all. She was gang banging, so she was like a first lady in her hood. So it was real, a lot of things like that. I was
gang banging in what particular organization?
Oh, she was G-Shine. She was G-Shine. Yeah, she was G-Shine. Yeah, first lady of G-Shine.
Sounds like generational.
Yeah. Actually, when I had decided to start gang banging and flip mob at 13, it was a problem. Like we got into it. We didn't talk for a couple months and everything because I flipped to a West Coast hood and she's East Coast. You know what I mean? So that was like a big deal. Like my neighborhood. The neighborhood I was in at the time was in it's a place called Tom's River, New Jersey,
right.
And I was in a place called Summit Park, which was like probably like the only hood in this place. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, it's kind of money around, and everybody out there was kind of experiencing it. People was either flipping mob or they were flipping murder, and so it was happening. And I remember seeing one of my closest friends come to school one day. He was lumped up. Eyes black. We was in like the 5th grade. I don't want to say we was young, man, 13, right? We was in like the 5th grade.
Right.
I remember still being in elementary school, and he was lumped up, and I was like, "Yo, dude." He said, "Man, I did it." You know what I mean? I went and did it. So I'm smiling because that's the energy it was. We was excited. Like later on we talked about it, but at that time it was exciting to let a bunch of big cats punch on you and beat you up, and that's crazy. But that's what we was on. So and he took, and at the time my man had stole my name. I was trying to black out rule and all this other stuff. So he changed. So I'm like, nah, all right, I got you. So I went and showed off, and I got knocked out twice. You know what I mean? It was a whole process that turned me onto it. But it was like, when they tell you the brotherhood and all that, it's not a lie. That's not a lie. That's really there. You know what I mean? It's a real brotherhood. Like people will really feed you and make sure you're good and make sure, if you around the right people, they gonna make sure you go to school and stuff like that. But it's sometimes and a lot of times it's what you got to pay back. You gonna take this and do this.
Right.
Just put some money in your pocket for both of us. You know what I mean? And so it becomes a cycle. But that was my experience. You know what I mean? I had some cats that were, they were kind of like me on both sides. So they weren't really fully stepped into it. I didn't really get fully experienced into it until I was like 15, a couple years later.
Right.
And then everything took off from there. I started getting Stain and moving up.
When you to describe Stain?
Stain is basically like being like your stripes. Okay. You know what I mean? The stripes like you get. Yeah, it's like, a lot of people, not a lot of people use Stain, but a lot of people use Stain. You know what I'm saying? Stain would be like your stripes. Like you might be a lieutenant or corporal, or you might be a private. You know, if you get some stain, and and stain don't have to be murder. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people get that confused, like stain is murder. It could be spray painting.
Right.
It could be, something as vulgar as peeing on somebody's grave.
Right.
It could be any act of crime, you know what I'm saying, that could catch you a big stain or a little stain.
Really?
And and you accumulate stain and you move up.
So is the stain is equivalent to an reward system.
Yeah, for sure.
The greater the stain, the higher the reward.
For sure.
And so that connects to violence.
For sure.
In some ways.
For sure.
Whether it is impeding on someone's property, or whether it's a grave, or whatever it may be, it's a token economy system. That's what we call in therapy. Yeah. It's a reaction to something that you do. When you speak about the difference in your household between group members, mom and son, did you ever see her as an opposition?
Me and my mother
at that time.
Not like at times where, like, my hood was beefing with her hood. You know what I mean? And her and my brother's dad and all his friends, they shine little stuff like a flag, little stuff like that. But it was never regardless of whatever. I was always stood firm on, like, I'm a man before anything. So, like, what I hold value to, y'all would never get me to do anything to anything I hold value to. Sure. And that's what really gave me a lot of respect with this stuff, for real.
So you stood on principles.
Yeah.
What does in growing up from this, so let's just talk from 2 to 13. You said 15, you began to build in stain. Mm-hmm. Within recognition within your organization. But from 2 to 13, were you looking for something? What were you in need for? And how did you get to the point where community took precedent in your life? Those stages.
Well, yeah, for sure. It's crazy how you I like how you that's a good question. That's a good question. And it's so easy for me to speak without even mentioning my father. You know what I'm saying? I've been having this whole conversation, and not even the thought or the question or anything. It's like, because he was non-existent. Okay. You know what I mean? And the times that he was around, I was very young. And what it did to me is it left a bad taste in my mouth, because I got to experience having him. And then when he was going, it was like, I became a bully. I was 7. It was like 17. All this stuff with he threw somebody off a balcony for calling him the N-word, and he came back. But when he came back, he was like he had went to war, and he hadn't. But he was like schizophrenic and everything. He was just destroyed. He ended up actually like almost choking my grandmother. It was a whole thing. So after that, he kind of did his own thing. And I would reach out to him. He wouldn't answer me. And, and I always would say, my dad's crazy. He's just going through something. But, how long do you keep giving them that excuse and giving them the benefit of the doubt? And, I'm watching you on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, you on Facebook making posts. You know what I'm saying? You living your life, but you could care less if what I'm doing, if I got a kid. He ain't met my son. You know what I'm saying? I got a kid. He don't even know how to pronounce his name. You know what I mean?
So I can see, as you speak about him from an older adult who has a child who's an excellent father, I can see how that time at 7 years old, it still resonates.
It hits home. I ain't gonna lie, it hits home. Because like I said, he was there. You know what I mean? And when he was there, he was the best dad in the world. You know what I mean? He gave me everything I ever wanted. So when I lost it, it took me so long to understand it. And then when I understood it and realized this was a choice, and he told me that, I was going through a lot, and, I wish I could have did things differently. but that don't fix the time. You know what I mean? So at that time, and, you know, to this day, I love him. I talk to him now. It's not the same. You know, we talk, and you know, but now I got him on the leash. You know, now you gonna wait for me, and I got it's something I'm working on. You know what I mean? But the roles have reversed. Now I need me for, you know, I'm doing okay. I'm not gonna say I'm successful. I'm doing good. You know, I can take care of things. So it's just different now. But without having him,
control now.
Yeah. And
let me ask you a question. The question I wanted to ask you is, and so that emptiness that you felt with your father, then you also mentioned that bullying, seeing him be violent, seeing him with a diagnosis that you probably didn't understand at that time.
yeah, no.
Knowing that he had levels of success, that he had his own military stain.
Yeah.
However, taking care of the country but not taking care of his son. How did that constitute to becoming violent to other people?
That took me a while to figure that out. You know what I mean? But it resonated like that because where I was at the time with my grandmother, all them kids, you know, they had their parents. You know what I mean? They had really good houses. You know, and some of them just was so unhappy, like always something wrong. You know what I mean? So I just was like, well, ain't nobody living worse than me. You know what I mean? I've been in the custody battle since I was young. I got burned with cigarettes and ashes on my shirt. I still got the burn marks, and nobody knows what happened. You know what I mean? So I've been going through traumatic things. So I felt like I needed to project that. Like, y'all ain't rougher than me. You know what I mean? That was kind of my thing. Like, for a little while.
Not only are you not rougher, you're not going through more than what I'm going through.
At all. And you know, and I'm not gonna stop. There were the guys. There's always a bigger shark in the sea. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't the toughest. There was them cats. And you know, they would play me, and then I go play the ones smaller than me because I was always getting played as the soft Joe's with this kid. Oh, you think you hard? So now I'm in this rabbit hole. You know what I mean? And I just kept going and going and going. And my father, if I, you know, and I tell him this to this day, if I could have just had him pull up to the school one time, you know, like I do for my kids, if anything, if I hear anybody did anything, I'm going to the school, or I'm getting on the bus.
Right.
Y'all see them right there?
Right. That's mine. That's me.
Keep your hands to yourself, or you're gonna have to get your dad.
That's me.
And we're gonna leave it like that. You know what I mean? So, and that's all I needed. You know what I mean? That's all I ever needed, because I was being bullied.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that. So, you know, after a while, just progressing, I started working out young. I'm I'm 6'4". I'm kickboxing, jiu-jitsu. I'm doing all that.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to be a ninja.
Right.
You know, my secret fantasy was to be like a ninja assassin.
Right.
And go kill the bad guys in other countries.
Right.
That was like my real dream.
You created an alter ego.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, that's where Bo came from. You know what I mean? And it was just like boom.
Hey, well, when you speak of Bo, what's the difference between Anthony Hart and Bo?
Bo is like T.I. versus Tip, or Cassidy versus Cass. You know what I mean? It's my other dude, you know what I mean? Like, Bo don't care about nothing. Bo don't, you know what I mean? Bo don't, you know what I mean? It's the line. That's the motto, right? That's all you. Bo don't play. Bo don't know. Bo don't care. Bo don't see nothing. Bo don't, you know what I mean? And that's how I was living it, like, you know, burgundy over everything. That's what Bo stood for to me. And unfortunately, I had some cats that were, you know, really locked into Cali. They're from Cali, and I'm the influence in me, you know, and I got that name from Cali, you know what I'm saying? That was given to me. So I really held on to it for dear life. Like, you know what I mean? This is me. Don't nobody got this name. You know what I mean? Y'all cats over here giving yourselves names. Like, you know what I mean? It was legit. And yeah.
What did it mean for you to get recognition from people outside the coast, East Coast? And recognition of and explain to me, why do they see you?
Well, all right. But the recognition, I'll tell you, it blew my head up. It blew my head up, man. Like, literally blew the back of my head open, because my head got way too big. I was 18. when I got the triple in Gang Talk is the highest thing you can get. I got more stain. I had more stain than the Game. All the rappers that talk that I had it. Lil Wayne, all them. I was cool. Lil Wayne's little big homie, all that. Like it was really connected. And I think I had like hit a switch when I was like 15 where I told myself that I was going to do a lot of things real fast. And when I got to where I needed to get to, I would incorporate like Black Panther more into the fabric of this because
you were trying to create more leadership.
Yeah, like real serious
more leadership.
Because my first was that, like, come on, man, person are you? Like, you know, I didn't think about that then, you know what I mean? But I'm 30 now, and you know, I'm so in now, you know, I couldn't even imagine. So it's
the person that stopped you, or the person that reprimanded you for doing that act, what would you say to him? And did you learn something from him?
Well, yeah, I did. He, I ain't gonna say his name, but shout outs if you ever see this, because he taught me a valuable lesson my whole life from that day. Because after that, you know, I got disciplined for it. I got in the circle, DP, 5 dudes punched on me, and he told me, it was like, you know, if your big homie tell you to jump off a bridge, you go and observe that bridge and make sure that he's leading you down the right path before you do anything. You don't just jump off the bridge. It don't matter if I'm telling it to you. It don't matter if he's saying it. Don't matter. Even if the homies in Cali are telling you to do something, if they're not going to do it, you don't need to be doing it. And you know, it was a harsh lesson. Like, that's extreme. You know what I mean? Like, oh, go do this. I do it, and then I get disciplined for it. That's extreme. But man, it locked in with me for the rest of my life.
What was he testing? Why would he ask you to do such a thing?
I think it was, you know, it's like basketball, like, you know what I mean? Everybody was calling me that the Christian boy, the Jehovah's Witness kid. So him grabbing me and putting me a part of his line, you know, I'm sure he's hearing it. He ain't going. So when it finally was a time to, like, all right, well, do this. And you know, I didn't think twice because I was so ready and I was so excited, and that was, and little did they know, you know what I mean? That was me, so it was nothing. And I think when he seen that, he like, oh, nah, they'll have him out here doing whatever, and he'd do it. So you know, now to this day, man, like
that's a valuable lesson.
Valuable lesson, man.
What did it matriculate into?
It turned into me running my own thing at 18. You know, that's not the end story, but that's a peak part of the story. You know what I mean? Me getting that stain at a young age, it was all because of how I was moving and how I wasn't going for a lot of things, you know, at the time. And after a while, it just got recognitions to the wrong people with the right people. And I got the call, like, look, you doing it. Because I was still active, you know what I mean? But it was clean, you know what I mean? I wasn't no civilians or nothing like that. It was clean. So
that is a reputation of Anthony Hart is militant.
Yeah, for sure.
Very structured, militant.
For sure.
You don't necessarily engage yourself with those that are not engaged in group and gang activities. You don't believe in hurting up civilians.
No.
You believe in uplifting and empowering.
That's
However,
it.
you had an iron fist thumb. Yeah. Well, where did that come from?
My grandmother, my grandfather, my mom. My mom, when she was straight, she was straight. But my grandfather taught me how to crease pants at a young age. And once I learned like the importance of having a crease in your pants and your suit and looking at hygiene and looking, that was it. You know what I mean? So that was like my background, how to put a cuff in your pants, do it fast, you know. And it's from there, you know, a lot of people won't agree with that, but am I growing up and I'm watching my peers and the people around me, and I'm seeing that, they're not, they're not going through none of this stuff, but they're a lot softer, and they're going through a lot more problems, and they're having a lot more weaknesses, and they're breaking down. So now I can look back and be like, man, if I didn't get that type of structure, who knows where I really would have been. I wouldn't have had the discipline or the strength to change my life. When I learned how to be humble. I learned how to be open-minded. That was from my grandparents and my mom, but I would give a big to like my grandmother, my grandfather, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Is there 5 things about Anthony Hart that if you could change today, what would it be?
I would definitely, the biggest thing I would change is I would have never got jumped in or none of that. I would have stayed,
really?
Yeah, I would have stayed independent and just moved as a force on my own.
So to be clear, if you seen life as you see it now, you would have never joined us.
I never did it. I tell people, and the cats that know me, they know this is my speech. This is how I'm coming every time you talk to me. Even if I run into a new recruit, bro, what are you doing, bro? You got everything you need. You don't need what you need us for. And just run people off, like, because this is
a big deal. So you're saying that one of those things that if you could turn back the hand of time, you would have never done it.
I would have never did that. I would have graduated.
Graduated from what?
I didn't graduate high school. I dropped out in the 10th grade. My mom went to jail for me. She took a charge for me, went to jail for a year. So I dropped out to take care of my siblings. I wish I did things that I put my mother in a situation where she had to go to jail, and she's so thorough. I was crying and telling her not to at the courthouse. I went to the courthouse. I'm hearing the woman describe me and everything, and the judge is like, "Well, if you don't tell us who this is, ma'am, you're going to jail for at least 9 months to a year." She didn't say anything. You know what I'm saying? And that was deep. You know what I mean? And her whole thing was, if you get up and turn yourself in, you a traitor. You ain't this. You ain't that. And I really had I still got a lot of respect for her, and she passed. You know what I mean?
You got a lot of hurt for her. Now I want to hold that. What you said too.
Yeah.
And then what will we do?
The third one. Well, I'm gonna be this is kind of funny, but I wish I had took basketball way more serious. Okay. I think the gang and everything just completely stole me away from the league. Okay. Because I'd have been in the league. That's 3. I love my son to death. I wish I would have just been a little more careful, because he experienced the same exact childhood I experienced, back and forth, the good, the bad, and just a bunch of mixes. I knew he's going to be solid, but it's just that, some of that trauma still holds. You know what I mean? It doesn't leave you. Right. And, that's something I wish I could have just been more ready. You know what I mean? Man, I would definitely wish I had had my mother back, but I don't know if that's a thing, but that's a big thing in my life.
When you speak about your mother not being here, do you think about it often?
Yeah, every day. I talk to her every day.
Do you think that from the way she's at, she's probably...
Yeah.
Is that a life quest?
Yeah. That's when people used to lose people. When people used to lose people and somehow just become successful in life, I always thought it was like a sham, or man, that's not sincere, man. You didn't use their death to get rich. You know what I mean? Right. But it's just this drive that you get when you do lose somebody that you love, that you had unfinished business. My goal was always to get my mom the white Range, right, with the cream inside. That's what she wanted. That's all she ever wanted, and she wanted to live with me. That was it.
Well, you could buy it and then call it after her.
Yeah, I'm gonna put her name in the seats.
Yeah, I believe that. So that you spoke about, and just to summarize, you spoke about the pain. You spoke about your father being militant, but and fighting for the country, but unable to fight for you because of a mental health disorder. And as he began to gain consciousness and be at his baseline and find themselves, you always look for him and he wasn't there. You spoke about the school. You spoke about the diversity in school and being a Jehovah's Witness, to being 6'4", to having hazel eyes, but being militant, and having the ability to be violent, but no one knowing. I've seen you as a spiritualist, but then you always wanted to show that other side. And when you had the opportunity to show, you was going to go to the most egregious crime possible. Then being DP'd for doing that crime, to learn valuable lessons. You spoke about the household being one side, East Coast blood, being the other side, West Coast blood. And you spoke about staying and building leadership within a powerful organization. You spoke about all of these things, the trials and tribulations of Anthony Hart. But then I want you to capitalize on and this is like the humanistic part of giving yourself praise. After all of that adversity, and you also spoke about your grandparents being a pillar of your life. You know, you spoke about all the things you could have spoke about. You spoke about that crease. And remember that, which is powerful. And after all the things that you've seen, I remember you saying to me that as a young man, you walked past the alley, you seen a man's head get blown off.
Yes, sir.
And that never left you. That's violence.
At the highest levels.
It is. That shifted your thought process on violence. And no person.
I didn't know if we could if I could go there, so I was trying to dance around.
Well, I want to speak about your successes, but I also want to speak about that hard pressing violent thing, violent things that you've seen that never left you. And I want to give credence to your story by validating by what you've seen as a young person. So if I may, can you elaborate about that story? Obviously no names will be mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. At this time I had just moved to Trenton. I was probably just turned 8 around the time. I was young, man. So much stuff happened from 7 to 10. I caught my first SBI number at 10. So it was like I had to be like 8.
SBI numbers, he was incarcerated at 10 years old.
Yeah. Breaking and entering, robbing the state trooper's house. But in Trenton, man, I want to say I lived on Old Rose. And for the Trenton people, Old Rose, there was a shell over there. There's an alley there's like a neighborhood, and there's an alley right there. My mom used to always send me to the shell to get juice and stuff like that, whatever. So, and I ain't gonna say the neighborhood was nice because Trenton was bad at the time. Gangs had just hit from the west, and
gangs and crack.
And like murder and G-Shine and all that stuff was coming from New York, and it was just getting real hectic in Trenton. And so we used to always see people get like stopped out on our door. We hear banging, open the door, a dude be falling in the house. You know what I mean? We deal with that. That was, and that's simple, but that's egregious. You know what I'm saying? It's trauma.
Yes.
This day, we're going out. It was getting dark. Kind of like this, but a little dark. It was getting dark, and I'm walking to the shell, and I hear like a confrontation, but I heard the shots. And I didn't, I seen like them all in the alley, boom. And the boy, he took off. Like I never, and as a kid, you think certain ways. You think if somebody gets shot in the head, they go down automatically. Or, that's it. You get shot in the head. Or if you get shot in the heart, you go down. You know what I mean? So I seen this man get shot in his head, and he literally ran up the road, maybe a half a block, and then fell in the middle of the road. And as a kid, I'll never forget that time. I was kind of like, and I've witnessed people get shot a lot of times. And for some reason, I got this starstruck thing where I kind of just like, dang. And I was at that moment, I was kind of looking at, and there was people walking by and whatever. I run in the house, but it fascinated me. I was fascinated from that point on. But damn, why did he run? What made him run like that? I thought you died automatically. Research. Oh, you got nerves. And so I got fascinated with ways to kill and different things. And that is the telltale story for a lot of kids in the hood, for real. Like, you get fascinated with violence just from the things you see. My mother was abused all the time. I watched her get both her wrists broke, her jaw broke, and then I step outside and see somebody get their face stomped flat.
It was all around them.
flat. You know what I mean? And that's it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And now, after a while, you go to the skin and you keep being around it, and then if you indulge in it, you get this type of skin where it becomes a game and it becomes fun.
Yeah. And it becomes not you.
Yeah, you're a whole different person.
Yeah, you become so, and I remember the first time for me, being in St. Paul's. I remember this kid, his name was Fritz. He used to always have, man, they used to do 52s. He was the nicest with his hands.
Yeah.
He had a mole on his chin too. His name was Haitian Fritz. They was playing CeeLo in the building. Boy running the building. And it was a 4.4 snum long, not strong, but it was a 4.4 revolver, and shot him right in the middle of his head as well. And I was behind the door, me and my boy Jamir.
Wow.
And I was like, man, Fritz, I never thought Fritz could die.
Right.
But then just to see the explosion from his head,
you could smell the hair.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing is,
I was 9 years old. Wow. So he was around the same age.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, you see, the people. I won't say personally, you see the people. And you start saying, man, that they're God, because they can have the ability to take life from somebody and then still walk in chemistry. You know what I'm saying? That level of fear, is a whole different,
whole other monster, man.
And then, I just,
it's a whole nother monster.
So in your way, after you went through all of this timeline of life and obstacles, and obviously you have like a CV. A CV is the opposite of a resume, is that you've been through war.
Yeah.
And there's no way in the world on this first podcast series we can even embody the things you've been through. But how did you find your way to success?
First, God, man. God. And some more God.
That's right.
Because I still, I'm still battling with this every day. I'm not really where I want to be. I still have them thoughts of, I'm in a work setting and, somebody disrespect me. My first reactions be so still like, ready to go.
First, you're like, wait, why didn't I just start off low?
Yeah, right. Let me go take a breather. So it's an everyday thing. God, keeping an open door for God to work within my body has been what I had to do. And I started by getting my mind right first, reading, getting knowledgeable. When I went to jail this last time, it was a really big case. I had just lost my mother. I got locked up 2 months after I lost my mom. On a 50-man drug indictment, wiretap, video recording, everything. I just had bailed out on the gun charge. So my bail's revoked. I'm facing 10.
So you was back to back in prison.
Back to back within a year. You know what I mean? I was just about to get a job at Procter & Gamble as like a foreman or something because I had managerial experience. But so yeah, I get booked and I'll tell you a story if I can. I'll tell you a story. It's COVID, and I'm in SCI, and people are getting sick, and people are coming from the streets. SCI is Sussex County Institution.
Okay.
It's an institution. You know what I mean? I don't know if people know prison, but when you think about jail, it's not that. It's just like something completely different. It's more like a mental breakdown. But anyway, I'm in there, and that's in Georgetown. And I had got sick, you know what I mean? So they automatically, before they knew how to treat it, they automatically just threw me in the hole. I had just got in there. Now, I don't know anything. I've been in there for almost 30 days. I get sick. I hadn't made no phone call. I didn't have no contact with nobody. I get in the hole, and I'm in there for about a week. And that whole week, I'm pacing back and forth.
You're in the hole.
In the hole. But see, I had COVID. They thought I didn't have it, but they thought I had COVID. So they put me on the floor in the hole, but outside the cells. I was on the floor on a mat. And, there's rats and centipedes all over the place. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the city, but man, I still don't like rats and mice and all that, man. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But so I'm wilding in there. So I finally I had a thought to really kill myself. I had got real dark. And it was a point in time where I'm like looking at the sheet and I'm trying to figure out I'm so tall, so how can I do this to where I'm hanging to where I can't save myself? Like I was really trying to figure it out. And I just stood up and started talking to God. Man, God, is this it? Like I know this ain't it. We've been through so much together. Like you brought me out of error. You saved my life. Like what is this? Like what are you doing to me? I know I'm something important to you. I know I'm something important to you. There's no way. There's no way. Our relationship is too real. And when you have a relationship like this with somebody in your third dimension, that's your brother or your dad. You know what I'm saying? So I know our relationship is something serious. So this is how I'm talking to God.
You're talking to God and you're saying to him, we've been through so much and I know that I'm somebody too.
Yeah.
Wow. Did he respond?
Yeah. Like, well, I was talking to him and my mom. Like my mom was sitting there. I had it all visioned out. My mom was up there and we was all just talking. And literally that night, a man comes in. He just got maced. He can't see. He comes, boom. Now I don't know about you, but if automatically I thought about the Bible and the apostle that lost his sight. So I'm like, he come in, I help him, and it was raw. Like, I had to help him take his clothes off.
Yourself.
Yeah, I was.
And now you was in the cell.
Yeah, after like a week and a half, he put somebody in there for me, and he comes in maced. You know what I mean? So when he comes in, I give him my soap. He needed help taking his pants off, paws. I helped him. They really did him bad. His skin was peeling, everything from the mace. And after I helped him, maybe like midday the next day, we were asleep because we in the hole. You spend a lot of time trying to sleep it away. But he woke up out of sleep and was like, "Hey man, God just told me, man, you good. You gonna be all right. Everything's good. You gonna get up out of here." Looked at him. I'm like, "Man, what you spiritual, man? What you mean, bro?" And I'm like, "What's crazy? I've been calling out to God this whole time, man. Like, what do you mean?" So he's like, "Man, when I get up, I'll explain more." Went back to sleep. And he got up and he literally started breaking down the whole the story about the apostle that lost his eyes because he was trying to, kill people following Jesus and how it all connected. And he was like breaking down like, "Yeah, your prayers are being answered. I'm telling you." He said, "Look, I'm in here for robbing the car, but I'm very spiritual." He said, "Unfortunately, I wait till I get to jail to get on my stuff." He's like, "But I always get like visions and stuff. God talks to me and tells me to tell people stuff all the time." That's what he was telling me. This guy named Mike in Dover. That's what he was telling me. So I'm tripping. You know what I mean? At this time, I'm like, well, we gonna see. I'm still testing God. You know what I mean? We're gonna see, man, because he said something very important, which was, I always wait till I'm in a bad situation to call on God. At that time, I hadn't been calling on him every day. I hadn't been calling on him or just thanking him for being awake or just thanking him for something to eat. I hadn't been doing that. It's just been like, "Damn, God, I need some money, like my bills." And that's what I was doing. And he was answering them. He was blessing me. And God has been, I don't want to say he or she, but God has been blessing me. And so at that time when he said that, it was very spiritual for me. And 2 days later, like the captain comes down and he's like, "Yeah, Anthony, you supposed to have been out of here." Takes me to the 5, fast forward 11 months later, I did have to sit, but it took a lot of pain. And I think it was because I needed to take this time to first cleanse my body because I have been getting high. That's a whole nother journey. I've been doing perks and everything else that street cats do. A lot of them are just addicts. To keep it real, they addicts, and they disguise it by becoming a dealer, so they don't, so nobody thinks nothing. But a lot of cats is addict, and that's what I was doing. I was the fly addict. You know what I mean? I can give it to you and do it with you at the same time. Like that's what was going on. But I think that 11 months was my time to really clear my mind, and when I knew it was real because I kept seeing the same thing. Me being home, me being with my family, me being around my son, which, I didn't understand till later. I ended up getting him and everything happened. But I used to see this stuff in jail. And at my mentality, though, was I wasn't going to see no light of day until 8 years. I was telling my wife that. I'm telling her, like, "Look, just go do whatever you want. I'm trying to hold that down. And, I ended up getting off of a gun charge, ended up being in a 50-man indictment. They didn't have nothing on me, but I ended up getting off with the box and 1 year probation. To me, that's a blessing.
It is a blessing.
That's a blessing.
It is a blessing.
Because, that gun was my second gun charge. It's not my first one. Most people you're supposed to get a mandatory minimum of 4 to 5 years.
Right.
So, it just everything worked. And, I even had a real lawyer, unlike everybody else. You know what I mean? It's like God just always puts things in position for me. Right. And I'm an instant gratification type of person. And God knows that.
He showed it.
And he gonna make me wait for certain things. But a lot of things I get it when I ask for it. And that's why, now I'm here. I'm like, all right, you've been doing this for me my whole life. Let me do this for you. You know what I mean?
And so now let's speak about the doing it for you. All the adversity, trauma, pain, sacrifices, and loss. Anthony Hart got big dreams, big aspirations, and working on some powerful stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Explain to us your goals for the community, how you want to impact the community, how you're creating change, and explain to us what are you sort of like doing now.
Well, one of my biggest things for the community I'm in, which is I'm in Dover, but statewide, it's a lot of things. This is it's a broad question, but I'm gonna try to like pinpoint the main things I want to do. A big thing is I want to get fathers back in the homes with their kids. It's a lot of single moms out here that I'm not attacking women, but the numbers show that it's more of a struggle when you're by yourself.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And it's better when the kid has the extra parent and the wife has a man there to help, because there's little things that women just can't do.
Right.
That's just the way of the world.
Right.
So that's a big thing for me. You know what I mean? We would the kid problem in the communities would, I can almost guarantee would cut in half, if not completely be eradicated, if the fathers would step up and our government would make it a lot easier for the fathers to access their kids. You know what I mean? I was dealing with that. I'm still dealing with it. You know what I mean? And it's a broad thing when it comes to that. Housing, jobs, placement,
broken homes,
so many things, and so that's a big thing for me. We can help the kids, but I had a lot of people helping me as a kid. I had a lot of people telling me to do right as a kid. I wanted my dad. I wanted my father to tell me to do this, and my father to be at the games. Not my coach, not my coach's assistant.
No matter who was there,
didn't matter.
Nobody could take the place of that father.
Because there's kids like me that had their dad and lost them. And now society has made it to where, we live here, but my dad has a felony and he can't move in the same apartment building. Dang, what are we supposed to do now? You know what I mean? Now he's out there scraping and scrounging, trying to figure it out. The mom and the dad can't work together because we can't even sleep together. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so many factors when it comes to that. So that's something I've really been trying to do. I do reentry. I work at the James Williams building. So like when a lot of the guys I get are coming straight out. They're doing 10 plus. They ready to change. So I'm working with them. Like, look, man, we're gonna try to. You got kids. That's a big one. You got kids. Let's try to get them babies. Get you a job. Yeah. Because I did it. So that's big for me.
You got any success stories without naming? In regards to someone coming from reentry, and did anyone see you and was like, "Yo, I can't believe it's you"?
Oh yeah. Well, I could take it either way, you know what I mean? Okay. But yeah, for sure. Man, I think I deal with that almost on a regular basis. Like, it's kind of like I'm a success story. You know what I mean? I don't really like titles or trying to be like that. But to a lot of people, that's what they look at. You know what I mean? I'm seeing a lot more cats get their crystals, and speak about their vibrations. And, some people ain't had a job and their whole life now they working and they doing positive. They got their CDLs, and some cats come and tell me like, bro, man, thank you, man. I just needed to see it.
You allowed them.
I just needed to see somebody.
You allowed them to create change. If you can do it, I can do it.
And even the haters, that see me like, oh, he think he watch this. I love that.
Yeah.
Hate on me and do better in life.
That's good. Yeah.
If you progress because you hate on me.
If you didn't have any haters, you in the wrong game.
Exactly.
And so you turned your pain into purpose.
Yes, sir.
We're going to end on this note. What would Anthony Hart say to the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old Anthony Hart? So he's sitting right in front of you. What would you say to him?
Wow. And you did the best you could, man. You did the best you could. And for that, I'm grateful. You put me in a position to where I could be solid and I can be tough skinned when I need to be, because we live in a very sensitive society. And the young me definitely going through my militant phase, and these different phases allow me to deal with so many different people and walks of life and spectrums and highs and lows. Now at 30, I feel well rounded, man. I feel like I'm Jordan or Kobe right now when it comes to this. I'm at the top. I'm there. I can fit into any crowd. And that was due to my child, my younger days.
So basically, you're thanking him.
Thanking him.
If it wasn't for him, you wouldn't be here.
Thanking him. Thanking him. Yeah, he made mistakes. Right. I grew up fast. My younger self grew up fast, man. And he did the best he could.
That's right.
He did the best he could.
And if I may share that same testament, I would say as a 40-year-old man, my 18, 17, 16-year-old self, I would say thank you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what he did was he had to go through the hard walks of life so that these obstacles that I endured as an adult can have a measurement and say that they can't test. Because if he could have did it, then I can do it now. So that's the story. So I think the moral of this story is to the young folks that's out there. You done heard from King Anthony Hart, John Cook. You done heard from us that you heard about obstacles, you heard about hardships, you heard about victories, you heard about failed parenting, but there's no failure if a person continues to succeed. We just take the failure and turn it into gold. You heard about tribulations, and you heard about just stories of people taking your innocence, capitalizing off of it, crashing you out. But then you also heard that throughout the universe, there's a big picture for you. You continue to walk forward, or you continue to keep your head up, and you continue to strive that the end results that you will be successful. You got to be determined. You got to have will, and you got to have grit. Stay focused, because there's a better life for you. Sure. Peace. I love you, beloved.
I love you too, man. Thanks for having me, man. For real.